Event organizers, get ready to level up. You're listening to the Event Academy Live podcast, where we elevate motivated event organizers. This podcast is brought to you by Fusion, all the event ticketing features and support you need for one low price. Check them out at getfusionsolutions.com. Now, it's time for your host, Jake Sperley.
Hey there, welcome back to this week's episode of Event Academy Live. I'm not even going to tell you the geographical location of this fair because I guarantee you probably never heard of it. But what I can tell you is it is in Nebraska. And today we've got the Antelope County Ag Society here. Jared, who's also the president and the governing body of the Antelope County Fair. I'm super stoked because, as we all know, county fairs are near and dear to my heart, especially smaller ones in locations where I have no clue where besides Nebraska. Jared, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. So I certainly know, besides my 15-minute research on your guys' fair website and what you guys do, I am not familiar with the Antelope County Fair and kind of what you guys do in the Ag Society. So for probably 99.9% of the listeners here, catch us up to speed about the Antelope County Fair and what you guys do out there.
As you alluded to before, we're kind of sort of off in the middle of nowhere. We're in the northeast part of Nebraska, which anybody around here, we're about 30 miles north and a little bit, or west and a little bit north of Norfolk, Nebraska. It's about the biggest town around here. We got to mostly the Antelope County Fair is about the 4-H and FFA kids in Antelope County, giving them a chance to show off all their hard work, their static projects, anywhere from welding to table setting for static displays to livestock judging and horsemanship and things like that. We're pretty fortunate around here. We're pretty in a pretty well agriculture based community. There's a lot of livestock. Our livestock barns are always full with animals, cows, sheep, goats, hogs, chickens and rabbits, all sorts of good stuff going on there. And then on the other side, usually the entertainment part of it, usually we do a bull ride, which is pretty typical around here. And then our concert this year, we've got Colt Ford coming to our concert this year to our county fair. And then that's Friday night. And then Saturday is our big night. We have a pretty good sized demolition derby that goes over. That's real popular in this part of the world. So always look forward to Saturday night and the demo derby. And then Sunday we wrap up with the tractor pull. And just as the Ag Society in general, it's our job to go through and, make decisions on, what we're going to do, when we're going to do it. A lot of changes go through us to get approved and things like that. And we meet once a month, like most governing body, I guess, and go through anything from, hey, we need to order more toilet paper for the exhibit hall to, we've got some major work we need to do on this and that. So pretty much run the gamut of, if you can think of it, we pretty well kind of handle it, I guess.
And so the listeners kind of know the size of the fair. How many people do you guys usually put through the gates a year?
I'd say roughly about 10 or 15,000 people attend our fair every year. That's a pretty rough number, but it's pretty close. Yeah.
What's funny is it sounds like your fair is very heavy on the ag side of things. Is that about right?
Yeah. We're right in the heart of cow country out here. So that's to me what it's all about anyways, for these kids for the 4-H kids and the FFA kids.
I think what's very interesting is, especially as areas get more dense, more heavily populated, especially your bigger city fairs, a lot of the ag side of a fair is kind of getting either pulled out or it's getting reduced, and they're filling it with other things that are more, quote, popular to the bigger cities, not cows, chickens, and sheep, right? And what's cool about that, and what I like about your fair, I mean, I grew up as a swine kid. Growing up, I raised hogs, and I did it inside of 4-H. I also raised extra, just to sell for meat to family, friends, local community members. And I just had the privilege, actually, last year of going back to my hometown fair, and I was able to be the swine judge, which, by the way, if anybody wants to know or thinks that judging is easy, I want you to shove that thought right up the backside, because it's really hard, especially swine judging, because that's like the only animal that's just running around, that's not on a rope, that's not like held by your hands. You're trying to keep track of kids and hogs just flying around. So keeping track of hogs is hard enough. Then you have to figure out what kid goes to that hog as they're playing like duck, duck, goose around the pen. So very difficult, but I am glad to hear you guys are heavily ag based. The other thing you brought up is the demolition derby. Back at my time at Columbia County, we historically would call Sundays throwaway days. What do you call your Sundays? Are they kind of throwaway days?
Not really. We've still got up until about noon, 1 o'clock. We've got like 4-H fashion show and stuff going on over at the exhibit hall, the livestock barn, and things like that. Anytime after that is typically release time for the animals and everything to start going home and that. But on that Sunday, we still do have an event. It starts at 5 o'clock. The tractor pull. That's kind of the culmination of everything, and it's kind of a good chance to relax a little bit. It's a fun week. Fair's a fun week, but at the end of it, I challenge anybody that says they're ready to turn around and do it again next week, because it is tasking. It turns into a second full-time job real quick sometimes.
Real quick. It's funny you brought up the demolition derby, and not a lot of fairs are doing demo derbies anymore. And when I was on the board, like I said, the Sunday was our throwaway day. We basically call it the cleanup day. We're open just so that we can basically get paid to start cleaning things up, but the fair is still open, so we get that 5th day. And I thought, we only have like one or two demo derbies in a whole like 150-mile radius. Why don't we do a demo derby? I'd never done a demo derby before, and I'm certainly not going to be in the demo derby, but I know some awesome redneck friends that would love to put on a demo derby. So, and it's funny, here's kind of where I'm going. One, we put the demolition derby on, and our Sunday attendance was the biggest it'd ever been in history of Sundays. So like it's funny. You give people something that's like going to bring them out of their homes, and they're magically going to show up. Like you give them what they want, and they're going to come, right? We never gave them what we wanted, and we finally gave them a reason to come on Sunday, and they came. Second to that, we had no idea how to do it. But if you get enough interested minds, like to team up to do something, it's shocking what can get done, especially in the fair world. And I've never seen it done any better in any other events. Like the 4-H kids, if they want a new poultry setup, they're gonna work together. They're gonna figure it out. If you want a new entertainment, like you're gonna work together, you're gonna figure it out. Is that kind of how your fair operates too? Like you kind of get that down home vibe of like, we're all one team, we're all gonna get in this together, and like we're one big fair family.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's funny you bring up the poultry thing. We've got so many chickens and rabbits at our fair, and that's a testament to our superintendents and 4-H people in that department that it's been needed done for a couple years, but with financials and everything, but we're actually looking at building a brand new chicken and rabbit barn, and there was a committee started here just a little over a year ago, and just some superintendents and some 4-H families that just wanted to see this done, that started raising money for this building. And we went out and put a plan together, and looked at how much it was going to cost and gave them the number, which was a fairly substantial number, being that everything's so expensive right now, because we're building wanting to build a fairly good size facility. And we gave them the goal of raising about $400,000. And that was about a year and a half ago that they started, and they are up to almost $300,000 some dollars just in 18 months or so, which they should be very, very proud of. So we're starting to look into that, and yeah, that plays to the whole coming together for a cause thing. And And yeah, you can really feel it out here in Nebraska. If there's at the fair or anywhere else, really, I mean, people are they're willing to help. And big thing is just asking. A lot of times you don't know till you ask, and a lot of people are willing to help you out.
I want to reiterate what you just said there, Jared. It's amazing what can get done if you just ask, or it's amazing what people will do if you simply just. I think so often, I mean, guilty is charged. You don't want to inconvenience somebody. Like, you're afraid to ask. What if they say no? It's like, what's the absolute worst that can happen? They say no, or not this time, or maybe not. I mean, okay, great. We've all been rejected a time or two, you know, and it's shocking, especially in the event world. You know, maybe you have a neighboring fair that does something that you really want to try, but you're like, we don't want to copy them. I guarantee if you just ask them, hey, we love what you're doing. A, would you be offended if we did it at our fair? B, how the heck do you do this thing? Guarantee they're going to at least take an hour of their time and just show you the ropes. And I think that's really how a lot of organizers and fair managers get caught up. You know, they just don't ask. They don't ask questions. They don't ask for help, and they end up taking on too much, and it ends up blowing up in their face during Fair Week, which I've been there. You said it yourself. Fair Week is a fun week, but it's also crazy, stressful, busy, and when you're done, you're done. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you would simply just ask for help, you know.
Yep, for sure. And a lot of it goes on the event side there, you know, like you talked about, trying to put together your demo derby and things like that. And out here, we're fortunate. We actually have 4 or 5 promoters just within the state of Nebraska and surrounding Iowa, and that's what they do. They went together and they wrote kind of a unified set of rules for the demo derby and things like that. And they go around and they're the ones that officiate the derby in that for us. You know, obviously we sign a contract and give them a little money to do it, but our promoter is the best one in the state, if not the country, if you ask me. But he's out of Kearney, the Kearney area. But things like that make it a lot easier too. You know, you look at you running it yourself versus you know, maybe getting somebody in there that, I guess I'll say, a little bit more fair and impartial, things like that, you know. And it makes it work a lot better that way too. I mean, you're obviously spending a little bit more money on it and things like that, but sometimes spending a little bit more money is worth it to get a great show, which we've got.
Yeah, and I think on this kind of subject, I'll finish out my story that of the demo derby that we produced. First year, it was the largest demo derby in all of Oregon with the best payouts. And it was probably the fastest demo derby. It didn't last very long. We didn't nail that part, but everybody had a great time, and it was standing room only. The place was packed. People were mad that they couldn't even get a seat. It was just free for all to get in. So we really didn't know what we were doing. Everybody loved it. Sold out. We had, I can't even tell you how many cars. Like, we sold out all the car slots, and it was a great time. But you brought up a good point of sometimes it's great to just pay somebody for their experience and expertise. And like, for a couple of reasons. One, you're probably going to get a better quality show than if you did it yourself. Two, it alleviates a whole load of work from your plate and puts it right onto somebody else. And we all know fairs, there's plenty of other things to do and better resources of your time than to do something that you're not an expert at. But I want to preface that statement in that sometimes when you're trying new things, you just need to do it yourself first, you know, and to not be afraid to say, hey, I really want to try and do this, you know, like a bull ride, for example. I've never done a bull ride before. I know some people that have. I'm pretty confident if you rally the troops, we could put on a bull ride. Is it going to be like PBR? No, it's not. But first year, you just need to prove the concept, you know? Is this what your audience actually wants? Do they care about it? Are they willing to pay money for it? So at the end of the day, we need to be doing things that our audience wants and cares about, not things that we want to do selfishly for ourselves, which I get caught up in that all the time. Like, I really want to do this. Like, does my audience actually care about that? You know, are they willing to pay $5, $10, $20, $100 to see that? Once you've actually proved that concept, you sell at the show or people come. It's like, all right, great. We've proved the concept. Now we can probably justify paying a professional $20,000 to put on the bull ride, or whatever it is, to hire out that expert to make sure you're getting top level performance, if you will. Going a little different subject here, Jared. How did you guys come up with your guys' entertainment lineup? Like, has it always been that way? There was a concert, a bull ride, a demo, derby, and a track. Has it always been that way? Or what's your big hitters? Like, talk to me about the entertainment side of things.
Yeah, it's pretty much been the same for probably the last, I'd say 15 years or so at least, as far back as I can remember. This is my 6th year on the board. Third, and this will be my third fair coming up as president. But my old man got on the fair board when I was in about 5th grade, and I started following him around then. So I've been around our county fair going on pretty close to 25 years, just working up, through obviously just doing little remedial tasks for people up to now I'm kind of more or less running the show, and that. But our lineup, we pretty well figured out what works and what time slots, or what times throughout the week, and it's pretty well set, I guess. But we're never afraid to take suggestions, or hey, maybe we should do this then, or move this. But I do know that just Saturday night works out so well for our derby, and our other big event, the bull ride, works out real well Thursday night. And typically the concert's always been on Friday. And I guess long story short, it's pretty well set, but that doesn't mean that there can't be changes coming down the pipe. And I guess that's one thing I'd add too, is you added, don't be afraid. You said, don't be afraid to start doing things yourself. And then if it takes off, hire the right people to really get it over the hump. And I guess I would add just to that saying, if something's not working, just because a few people are coming up to you saying, hey, we love this and that. Well, that's all great and everything. But, at the end of the day, if you're not coming close to paying for it, or you're not getting the crowd there, it's not worth pursuing anymore. And sometimes it's hard, but sometimes that tough decision needs to be made to go in a different direction too.
What's that old saying? Slow to hire, quick to fire. Think about what you're doing, but don't be afraid to pull the plug quickly. Not that I'm going to contradict what I just said, but back when I owned a food cart, one of my vendor coordinators, she's like, Jake, you got to give this show 3 years. By the 3rd year, you're going to be making great money. So some of it's like, you got to know when to keep going and when to just say, all right, cut your losses. This was a great experiment. We tried something. Let's document it. Let's never do it again. Or let's try it in 10 years, maybe when our demographics have caught up to that, piece of entertainment or that idea, that concept. Have you guys tried anything recently and it just completely didn't work out?
So it's been, going back a little bit here, it's been 10 or 15 years. For the longest time, I remember when I was growing up with Dad on the fair, we did not have a carnival of any kind on the fairgrounds whatsoever. It was everything going on at the livestock barn. Then across the way, Thursday through Sunday, had the big entertainment events. Tuesday night, we have a team pinning event over on the 4-H side at the horse arena. And then also we have Wednesday night for the kids after they get everything checked in. We have what they call the Ag Olympics. It's just a little obstacle course they run, and, they keep track of your time, and they pay so many places and age groups and things like that. It's just something fun to do for the kids. But on the big side, for the longest time, we had no carnival of any kind, and they really didn't want to commit to going back to a giant carnival because it, for whatever reason, they didn't want to. This is before my time, but they went with what they call an inflatable carnival, which is bounce houses. One guy brought a zip line, some moon bouncers, just some things like that to have something there. And that was working good for us up until, just last couple, 3 years here, just with COVID and the way everything went, everything got so expensive that we actually went back to a full-fledged carnival, because I could get a full carnival for, almost $1,500 less than I could a guy bringing 4 or 5 inflatable rides, which sounds nuts, but so we're going to try that this year and see how it goes, and hopefully it goes over well. And so yeah, I guess that's one thing that worked, but then kind of more or less quit working, and so we're going back a little bit just so we have some entertainment and that there to try to do the full carnival.
So up until this year, you guys, it's been the inflatable carnival, and this year is the first year with the legit carnival back.
Correct.
Wow, that's big time. That's a big change. You're gonna have to, I feel like we need to do a follow-up episode after this and say, all right, Jared, how did the real carnival go? So do people pay for like ride bracelets in addition to fare admission, or does it come with fare admission? How does that work for you guys?
So our getting on the grounds is, we're a little bit unique around here, because our entertainment side of things takes place in our city park in Neely. So we don't charge a gate fee to get on the grounds. We just ticket prices to the events, and the carnival sells wristbands or individual rides is how we do that.
Got it. So essentially free admission, and you just pay for the extra entertainment.
Yep, correct.
Got it. That makes sense. I guess kind of wrapping up things here as we get kind of to the half-hour mark, is there anything that, I guess, big things that you've learned in your time as president here, or maybe something that's like one tidbit that you would like to, that you wish you would have known when you started?
Yeah, how much time you got, but I guess just picking one out is, I'm fairly young out here as far as being a fair manager or being a president goes. I'll be 35 in October is all I'll be, and usually, that role is reserved more for, an older, wiser board member, but I was fortunate enough. They must have thought I was doing a good enough job that our president 2 years ago decided he was going to step down. He had enough, and he did a good job, but I was vice president at the time, and I remember sitting in that meeting, and he was off the board, so I actually ended up having to run the meeting, and everybody's looking at me, and it's like, is there any nominations for president? And about 8 people raised their hand, and I ended up being elected. But to anybody out there, and I realize you have to have a certain amount of both the experienced people on your board and the kind of the younger, more energetic, I guess, willing to take a chance guys. But if I was to tell any fairs out there anything, is don't be afraid to bring that young guy on that just has that, I guess, must have been like me, that had that glint in his eye of just, you've been around this so long, you love doing it, and you want to see it succeed, and there's probably not a whole lot of people out there clamoring to get on a fair board or become a fair manager or anything like that. But just don't be afraid to bring that young guy on and bring him up, and they'll turn out, I guess, kind of like me. But depending on who you talk to, that might or might not be a good thing. But the other one I learned too is, because like I said, it can quickly become a second full-time job. And about my first year and a half, I finally got in, and our treasurer, she's a sweet old lady. She finally came to me after one meeting one night, and I was just almost wringing wet with sweat, stressed out. And she looks at me and she goes, "You need to start delegating a little bit more." She said, "You've got an entire board. You don't need to take all this on yourself." She said, "Delegate it off and give jobs to other people, so you don't have the weight of the whole thing on your shoulders." And I finally saw what she was talking about and started to do that, and I'm really glad I did, because it's taken a lot of stress off my shoulders.
I think we need to extend this episode by a couple of minutes, because this brings up another great, I think, story and avenue. I'm all about storytelling. So when I got appointed to my fair board, so how the fair board works at the fair that I worked at in Oregon, you have to go before your county commissioners, and your county commissioners actually make the appointments to the board. And I was a whopping 21. So I could I was 20, and our fair was like the week before my 21st birthday. So I couldn't even drink at my own fair. It was atrocious. And we all know that you probably need a drink when you're producing your own fair, especially at night. And I was this 20-year-old spry guy. And like you said, Jared, who the heck, is all needed to join a fair board? I was. And I would say by the end of that year, I don't know if I pissed off a bunch of other board members who were older than I was, but I was so gung-ho and willing to try new ideas, and like the demolition derby, marketing our fair on social media, not in the paper and banners and the radio, like just trying a bunch of different new things. Luckily for my case, I can't think of anything that didn't like really work out for us. Like all my ideas really worked out. I'm not trying to brag. They just luck of the draw. We shot and we hit. It was a targeted shot. But there were things that nobody else was willing to try. They were, I don't want to say set in their ways, but they'd been doing this fair for however many years. They knew what worked. They just wanted to stick to that. They didn't want to add any additional roles or responsibilities to try and do new things. They just wanted to keep it as is, like it's always been. And I really think having that new, fresh set of eyes, like you said, Jared, bringing somebody in that might be way younger than you, it's probably going to feel uncomfortable. Because they're probably going to push you. They're going to have drastically different views than you are, but can really do wonders for your fair. When we put out our post-fair survey, I can't even tell you how many, results we got that said this is the best. I mean, it was the highest attended fair, like numbers-wise. It was our biggest attendance, and we had the greatest numbers that we've ever had in the 100 and something years. But our consumers were happy. So like things are changing, things are getting more to what we expect out of our fair. They're not the 1970s. They're 2020. Actually, I don't want to talk about 2020. They were like 2018 now, right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to take those leaps. Different perspectives are great. It's like I can have an opinion, Jared can have an opinion, but the greatest thing to have is multiple opinions, and bringing everybody's opinions together to put it on the table and say, all right, you think this way, I think this way. Fantastic. What am I missing that maybe you're bringing to the table that we can put our ideas together and really make something fruitful for everybody here.
Yep. Just back to my secretary says to me all the time regarding changes and that, just different small things that we do. She always says, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. And I kind of have that burned in my mind, but at the same time, you have to realize that you have to try to kind of get something for everybody at the fair. We do old-fashioned beef barbecue. It's called. The Neely Chamber of Commerce puts that on for us on Saturday before the fair, and that's just a fair tradition. That's something that's been going on for forever, and it's never going to go away if I have anything to say about it, because it's a good chance. Everybody comes out, on Friday evening. They come. It's a free will offering. They pay their free will offering. They get a plate of food, and one of the churches does a pie and ice cream social right by there. And like I said, it's in the park. So, I mean, it's shaded, and we have a beautiful park in Neely there. And then everybody makes their way over to the demo derby and goes and drinks a few beers in our beer garden, or several. And then everybody goes home happy. So.
Yeah. Some things shouldn't change. Some things it's always good to take a leap on. Jared, thanks so much. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Yep. Thank you very much. We were excited to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is it for this week's episode with Jared, the president of the Antelope County Ag Society, which also puts on the Antelope County Fair in the absolute middle of nowhere, Nebraska, which, hey, sometimes might be the best place to have a fair. We'll catch you next time on this week's episode of Event Academy Live.
Thank you for listening to the Event Academy Live Podcast.
This show is powered by Fusion.
Event solutions for the modern event organizer. Don't forget to like, rate, and review. We hope you enjoyed the show. Until next week, keep leveling up, fellow event organizers.